JD Vance is not weird. He's like pretty much as normal as they get, which is why they consider him a threat. That is why they're using a label that doesn't apply to him, and for the reasons you just stated. But it's definitely a coordinated attack now. The second gentleman, Kamala Harris's husband, said it. Many, many others on the left keep reviving the weird comment before we went to air moments ago. AOC put out a tweet calling him weird, JD, and here's another sampling.
I don't think Kamala Harris is going to pick anyone as weird and creepy as JD Vance.
It demonstrates and shows us exactly what he believes in by selecting a JD Vance, who is quite, as the campaign said, weird.
The agenda, the way they talk to people, the way they address people, it is bizarre. It's weird. It is weird.
These are weird people on the other side.
Donald Trump seems to be drifting away from his own nominee because he's had so many weird views.
Unfortunately, Vance's weird views are not even winning praise from within his own party. Donald Trump and his weirdo running mate and the Republican apparatus behind them will regroup.
It's not just that he said a lot of things that are weird. It's not just a weird style that he brings. It's that this leads to weird policies.
It's kind of weird how they all have the same messaging, Ben.
So apparently CNN and MSNBC used the word weird to describe JD Vance in the last 2 days over 150 times. So if you don't believe that they're all marching in lockstep and they don't get their talking points from the DNC, they 100% do. So on my show today, I talked a little bit about the sort of weird slur and the fact that they're using this. Again, to me, this is all projection because there are only two ways in which a candidate is weird. One is sort of interpersonally weird, right? So you might say somebody who laughs strangely and who starts jabbering about coconut trees. That might be a little weird. JD is not that, right? When JD talks, JD is actually perfectly normal. You watch him on TV, you watch him give a speech. He's like a normal person who is talking. If anything, he lies on the sort of dull side in terms of his sort of affect, right? He's not somebody who's electric on TV. He's not like Vivek, very live, right? He is exactly kind of normal when he's on TV. And then there's weird positionally. And here's where you get something sort of fascinating. According to the left, what makes you weird is believing that it is actually of moral benefit to the United States for people to have children. That's JD's actual position. It also happens to be the biologically correct position, which is that if you wish society to propagate itself, it's very important that on a moral level, people have kids. Now, when JD was on Tucker's show, he phrased this in the negative. When he was on your show, he phrased it in the positive. The positive is, if you have kids, you should get tax benefits because it's good for society for people to have kids. That's totally inarguable. That I think is perfectly obvious because he phrased it in the negative on Tucker and then used some sort of cable news language about cat ladies. That's what they're glomming onto. They're saying he's positionally weird. What is more positionally weird? That people ought to have kids and that society ought to incentivize its citizens to have children? Or is it weirder to suggest that society ought to be completely apathetic about whether people have kids at all and ought to treat your personal decision-making as to whether you gallivant around on RuPaul's Drag Race or become the head of a traditional family and go to church regularly as a matter of moral apathy? Like Kamala Harris is very weird positionally. The Democratic Party is very weird positionally. This is a party that has made Sam Brinton a member of the administration before he started stealing ladies' luggage. There's a party that has suggested that Admiral Rachel Levine, who is a dude, is somehow a stand-in for women everywhere. It's a weird party filled with, they have trans influencers jiggling their fake breasts on the lawn of the White House. If you're just talking weird, the Democrats have nothing on weird when it comes to JD Vance. And so they've been trying to manufacture this narrative. This is where I get to the question of stickiness. Again, I doubt this is really going to stick to JD because I just don't think that he's weird enough for it to actually work. But this is certainly what they're trying.
Here is Kamala Harris just this week going on the RuPaul Drag Race show to seek support in this election. All right. Now, everybody knows RuPaul is a drag queen, and drag queens doing drag queen things behind closed doors or in bars or what have you, I don't really care. But shoving it in front of my kids and other people's kids, I care. But the show is controversial for those reasons. So she goes on there. Let's just take a look at, here she is with RuPaul. Yay, it's me, Kamala.
Hi, everyone. It's Kamala Harris. Each day, we are seeing our rights and freedoms under attack, including the right of everyone to be who they are, love who they love, openly and with pride. So as we fight back against these attacks, let's all remember, no one is alone. We are all in this together, and your vote is your power. So please make sure your voice is heard this November and register to vote at
She's perfectly fine going on that show, notwithstanding the fact that 6 weeks ago. That show featured a trans person. It's a woman who had her breast chopped off and decided to walk down the runway with a discarded pair of fake breasts in a clear bag, bloodied flesh, with a depiction of scars across her nipples and scalpels on fake arms shaving off her breasts. And this was celebrated on this very show that our sitting vice president just celebrated 2 minutes ago. Look.
Up next, got Mick. Now starring in X-Plant 2, Electric Boogaloo.
This look is something I have been wanting to do for so long because top surgery absolutely changed my life. So I molded my arms. They're wrapping around me with scalpels. I have Swarovski crystal blood. I have a ponytail. And I have 2 Swarovski crystal tits in a bag. It is everything.
That's so fierce.
It's so gorgeous.
I love it.
She wants us to listen to her on what's weird. Not a word of condemnation for that, an endorsement of the show, an appearance on the show. That was one of the most disgusting, blatantly misogynistic things I've ever seen on television, Ben, ever. And the fact that our sitting vice president, never mind a candidate for president, would go on that show and celebrate it and lend her credibility to it is an outrage in and of itself. She can spare me the discussions on weird.
This is exactly right. And I think that she's running directly into the teeth of something here that I think that, again, it was a misdirect because everybody thinks of her as strange. But I think that this is going to backlash on her. This, I think, is her first mistake of the campaign. Trying to label your political opponent weird while doing a bunch of things that sort of normie Americans think are weird, it's not a good look. It really is not. And this is, again, not the first time that Democrats have tried to jujitsu a sort of Republican attack line onto their opponents. So you remember back when there was a crowd at a NASCAR race that started chanting F. Joe Biden, and one of the commentators suggested that they were chanting "Let's go Brandon," and that became sort of a rallying cry for people on the right. And then the left took that and they started talking about the dark Brandon memes, right? They had like the sunglasses and the aviators and the laser eyes, like dark Brandon. And then that fell apart on them when it turns out that there is no dark Brandon. There's just a senile old man who's occupying an office he shouldn't hold. Well, if the idea here is that Kamala Harris is a perfect normie, I don't think that that's going to play other than in sort of coastal elite areas of the United States. And so I think that the backlash against this could be fairly strong. The thing that people mistake when it comes to the Trump phenomenon is in 2016, there's been an attempt to philosophize Trump and suggest that Trumpism is really about economic issues. It's dispossessed white people from the Rust Belt who lost their jobs at the factory, and that's why they're voting for Trump. That's actually not the story of 2016. The story of 2016 is there's a whole group of people in the United States who have families and who go to church and who have a set of values that is directly opposed to the kind of stuff that Kamala Harris is pushing. And they're being told that they are less than, that they are bad, that there's something wrong with them. That in fact, they are weird for saying the kinds of stuff about childbearing and going to church that J.D. Vance says. And to me, that's alienating exactly the population that Kamala Harris needs to win over. Who exactly in, say, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Georgia, Arizona is sitting around going, man, now that she's appearing on RuPaul's Drag Race, I'm going to go out and vote for her, and it's going to shift enough votes for her that it's going to make up for all the votes that she alienates with this kind of stuff.
I cannot get over the fact that we have spent days talking about J.D. Vance with a throwaway comment about childless cat ladies. And these people who are making a deal out of it can't tell you what a woman is, want to put men into our little girls' locker rooms and sports, and will happily cut off the healthy breasts of a 14-year-old girl and sterilize her without giving one thought to her. Never mind in California, with the cooperation of the school and the exclusion of the parents. Like, that is not the pro-woman party. Hello, this is a catastrophic development that we've had in modern day America that is the responsibility of the Democrat Party. How on earth are we ceding the who will protect women and girls line to them over a stupid throwaway by JD on cable? It's absolutely dishonest. It's infuriating. I don't blame him. They'd be doing this to any Republican, but we've lost our minds when this is the news cycle. This is the discussion.
And again, I think what you said is right. It's all a misdirect. It is all a misdirect. It is all an attempt to get the focus onto JD and away from Trump and away from Kamala. She needs everyone to focus on what she's purporting to be, which is this glitzy, glamorous, unifying figure who does ads to Beyonce's freedom. and not what she actually is, which is one of the most radical left politicians that we've ever seen in the history of American politics. She was literally the most left-wing senator in the United States Senate in 2019. They whitewashed that from the internet. That's now gone. She's a person who was given control of the border and proceeded to let in somewhere between 7 and 10 million illegal immigrants. She's a person who in the last week alone, by the way, her Middle East policy in the last week alone, when she's been effectively the acting president, has been disastrous. She did a full-scale press conference in which she spent nearly the entire press conference ripping on Israel for its supposed human rights violations, while saying almost nothing about Hamas. And then over the weekend, Hezbollah, which is a terrorist group located in the south of Lebanon, shot a rocket into a Druze area. Druze are Muslim Arabs. Shot into a Druze area of northern Israel in the Golan. They killed 12 kids. And Kamala Harris's only statement was, we have ironclad support for Israel, and that's why we're pursuing diplomacy to stop this. Again, she's a radical left disaster area. And I do think that if the Trump administration focuses in on that, and if they run ads about her wanting to ban fracking in Pennsylvania, and if they run ads about RuPaul's Drag Race in Arizona and Michigan, I don't think that people, when faced with the actual who Kamala Harris is, are going to resonate in quite the same way as New York Magazine, which is putting her on top of a coconut. I will mention that they have that Camelot cover that you mentioned there. The end of Camelot is that Mordred actually ends up destroying Camelot. So we should point that out.
You know how much my family and I love our dogs, even my sweet Strudwick. I can't imagine life without them. They have a great life, but some dogs are not so fortunate. And that is why I'm so glad to tell you about Delta Rescue, the largest no-kill, care-for-life animal sanctuary in the world. They've rescued thousands of dogs, plus cats and horses too. They provide all of these animals with shelter, safety, and most of all, love. And they've been doing it now for more than 45 years. Delta Rescue relies solely on contributions to stay open, and giving can bring tax benefits to you as well. So speak with your estate planner about how you could grow your estate while helping these animals in need. Check out the estate planning tab on their website if you want to learn more. We love our Thunder and Strudwick. Delta Rescue can help you share your love for animals by helping the pups and other animals who need it most. Visit deltarescue.org today to learn more. That's deltarescue.org. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.